Hi Delvers. In this lesson, we will download and install MySQL. I would also run through the user interface of MySQL. And lastly, we'll create a database. But just before we jump into that, my name is Pipi, your instructor at Data Delve. As I do say, it's great for you to like and subscribe to the channel. So once we drop a new video, you can always get a notification and jump right into it. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so for this course, I've had to uninstall MySQL from my device just for the sole purpose of making this video. So the link to this page you would have that on I would attach that to the YouTube video, so you can just always click that just to get to this page. So this page basically is just the download page of MySQL, just for you to download the app onto your device. I'm working off a Windows device for now. So if you would like that I make a separate video for Mac, or you would like that I just drop you a link for the installation for Mac, I can always do that. But for now, we're just going to stick with Windows. So straight up, this oftentimes is always pre-selected. That's the version. Oftentimes I tell people to go for the LS version, obviously, because it's been worked upon and that's the latest thing in the market. So it's good to go with the LS version. It also automatically populates the Windows or the operating system, obviously just going off what you already have. You have two different formats that you can install. One is obviously a bit larger than the other, and that's because it contains everything you need. One is just the web community, while the other is everything put together. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to download this. That's the one that is a bit larger. So I'm just going to click download. You don't need to log in. You're just going to go straight to no thanks, just start my download, and that has started the download. I will pause this video just for the purpose of it downloading. I don't know if it's going to happen quick enough, but I'm just going to pause this and just come back once it's downloaded. All right, so we're back. So it's downloaded already. So I'm just going to click that. So it opens up, which is something you have to also do. It's preparing to install now. I'm just giving it some sec. So it's just simple. Go onto the link and just download the file and click install. So you just click yes for this, as you would for every other application. So it's just loading up now. It says 5 seconds, 2 seconds. Yeah, and yes also for that, because we downloaded the full package. So you might have to do that a couple of times. So that's just the basic process of downloading. Just waiting for this to load up. All right, so that's just loading up now. Okay, so what we need here, because so you have the server only, the client only, the full package, and the custom package. We'll choose the full package. That obviously gives us the server, the shell, also the workbench where we're working from, some samples, some documentation. So I just feel like it's just best to just go with the full package. I'm going to click on next there. Then it's the path conflict. That's all fine. Now it's saying this already exists on my gadget, and that's because I've had this before installed. I've had to uninstall it, but I'm just going to click next in the ways. Yes, that's fine. I just want to continue. Then you have all of this. Now everyone here needs to install, so you need to just click execute. So it just installs that. Now that's sometimes take a while, so I would have to also pause this video because of the time it takes. So I'll pause this video. Once everything is installed, I'll be back again we'll just continue from there. Yes, so we're back. So we have everything installed now. So you just need to click the next button. Yeah, you obviously need to configure this. So click the next button again. Just allow it to configure. You really have nothing to do on this page. Just click the next button. Yeah, obviously, click the next button. Now it's asking for my password because I've created an account before. If you haven't created an account before, at this stage you have to place in your account name and your password. So I'm just going to go ahead to input my password there. Check that. So I'm just going to allow that to load. All right, so that's check my password. I'm just going to click the what next. You want the standard version, definitely. So click the next button. You need to execute all of this also. So just execute. Let's just wait just to see that execute. I think this is pretty fast. So hopefully this doesn't take too much time. So this is basically the process you have to go through step by step to have MySQL installed on your gadgets, because it's pretty important to have these installed, because you really can't query a database without having these installed on your gadget. I think this is taking long, so I'm just going to pause this again. All right, okay, so it's done, so I don't have to pause that. So I'm just going to click the word finish, next. Yeah, that's fine. Next. I was asking for the password, which I've obviously imputed. So I'm just going to do that again quickly. I'm going to click check. That's done. Next. It's running. I'm just going to execute again. And I think we are pretty close to the end of this process now. And that will mean you already have MySQL installed on your device. So I'm just waiting, just running the script quickly. Yeah, and that's done. So I'm just going to hit the finish button there. Yeah, I'm just going to hit the, I need to start. So you can uncheck that if you want, but I need it to start the Workbench once I'm done installing. So I'm just going to finish and I'll wait for the Workbench to open. I really don't need this. I should have unchecked that, but I'm just going to cancel that now. So I'm just going to wait for the Workbench to get, yeah, perfect. So I'm just going to open up the Workbench quickly. I'm just going to bring that here. So, and that's the Workbench. So I'm going to click on that. So it opens up the Workbench for us. Yeah, that's loading. Yeah, and there we are. So I'm going to drop this quickly because I also need to show us. So I'm just going to drop that. And drop that. So these are databases that I've created before. So because I've just logged into my account, so it's brought back all my previous work. So I'm just going to drop it. Drop basically means I'm deleting those databases so I can show you the user interface of the app quickly. So I'm going to drop everything. So that's everything dropped. I'm going to cancel that, don't save. Yeah. So if you have just installed, this is what you should have on once the app opens, once your Workbench opens. Basically, these three buttons here are simple buttons, no doubt. So if you need to remove the SQL addition tab there, I mean that bit, just need to click that takes that out. If you need to bring out your output, so your output, I just need to drag that a bit. Yeah. So, you know, just recently I've just dropped some databases, so it's just letting me know the database I've dropped. So that's the output, and that's the editor button. I mean, that's the windows where we edit or write our queries. Schemas, that's where we have our database being saved. In simple terms, you have the button there. That's just to launch an SQL interface. So say, for example, this basically is where you write your queries, your SQL queries. So I'm just gonna write this. This is my first. Nah, that's wrongly spelled. Query. So this is where your query goes into. That's where you have your databases, and that's always the output. So, quick one. I tell people oftentimes when you have that star, you might see like an asterisk there. It means that query or that query isn't saved. So oftentimes you might want to save that just so you don't lose it. So I can call that my first SQL, let's say query, RY. So that's just going to save that. So if I cancel this now, I can just load up the query if I need to, and it's just going to come back there, if that makes sense. So for this is where so that's my SQL query, for example, if I just need to load up. So for example, let's say I've canceled that now, it's no longer there. I need to load up the query. I'm just going to click on that and open, and it opens again. This is my first query, basically. So that's why it's very important that you save so you don't lose out in the queries that you've written. So that's to add more tabs. Say, for example, you are writing numerous SQL queries and you don't want them mixed together. So I can have one here, I can have the other one here. So I'm just gonna copy this quickly. Just gonna copy that quickly and say, so I'm just gonna remove that and say this is my second query, if that makes sense. Can do that again and say this is my third query. Nah, I don't need capital now. No. All right. So that's my third query, and you can just continue like that. Obviously, these aren't saved. So if I cancel this, I won't be able to pull off that document anymore, which makes some sense. So I've just told us these just to create more. You can keep on and on and on if you need to create more files. For these, if you need to input your file or your folder, say for example, you have an SQL document that you need to input already saved, which we're going to do at a later part. So I don't want to do this now, but that'll be the last thing we're going to do for this course. I'm just going to cancel that. Now, this basically is to add or create a new schema. Now, schema, basically, that's where you have your databases. So I can click on that and I can say, for example, this database is called data delve. So data delve. So that's that. I can just apply. Yeah, apply that. It launches that, and that's it. So when you come back here, can you see you have, I'm just going to cancel this. Yeah, don't save. I don't need this save. It's going to do that consistently now. Okay, out. So I've just created this now, and that's why you have this. So you have the database. I told you the schemas, that's where you have the database. So if I click on that, I told you, if you haven't forgotten, on our previous lesson, I told you under database, you have data, you have views, you have stored procedures, and you have functions. If you click the word data there, sorry, the word tables, right now, there's nothing because we don't have any table. We've only created the database, if that makes sense. So you have that there. These are for views, for stored procedures, for functions. But for now, I don't think we will need all of that. So quickly, you can go to the file. You can save your scripts if you don't want to go by it the way I did it earlier. So you can save your script here. You can save as if you have a specific name, and you have the edit. The edit basically is just to, I'm just going to do that. So edit basically is just to, the edit button there is always referencing this edit window. So I can choose to clear if I want to, undo. And that takes it out, basically. So that's just what the edit button does there. You have the view button, you have the query, you have the database. Basically doing all of this. Now the database here is if you just need to connect your database to say for example, you have an external source for your database. You just need to connect these to that external source. That's what you need to do here. You have the server, you have the tools for scripting, you have the help. I'm just trying to run through these things because most of these things you won't really need. You can check the documentation from MySQL if you really need that, but I don't think you would need that. So let's come back to our editor interface. So I'm just going to paste what I wrote before. Now, you have two buttons here, two light bulb buttons. Now, what it does, I'm just going to copy this quickly. I'm just going to paste that. I'm going to paste that there. So you have two light bulb buttons. Now this one, the first one means it's going to run this query. So this is my first. I'm going to change that to first quickly. First. So now if I click this light button, obviously it won't work now because this is not a standard SQL query. But if I click the first light button, it means it's going to run this query, then run this query. But say, for example, I'm really not interested in running both queries. I just want to run one of those queries. So I just need to click there, then use this light bulb. So this would run, as you can see, it only executes the statement under the keyboard cursor. So right, if my keyboard cursor is there, it will only execute that statement, basically. And you have this just to limit, say, for example, I've written my query there and I have my output down here. I can limit the amount of rows I want to see. So 500 rows, 10 rows, don't limit, etc. basically. So I think that's a quick run through of the UI for MySQL Workbench. So we're just going to go ahead to create our first database. I would also attach the link to the page where I've downloaded the database, so you can just click on that and you can attach. You can also do the same thing I'm going to do right now. So because these documents or these database will be what we're going to be working with from now to the end of this course. It might not be to the end of the course, really. We might have to change at some point, but for now, we would work with that database just to test and learn some basic syntax of MySQL. So I'm just going to do that quickly. So I'm going to click on that. As I showed you before, see that says open a SQL script file, which is what I want to do. I'm going to click that. You need to put in the pathway, but it already recognizes my own. So I'm just going to click the world database, which is what I want to add. I'm going to double click on that, double click on the world, and then it opens up. Now, these are lots and lots of things. I think for now, it might not be essential, but basically it's just creating a database called world, and it has a default character set. Then it says drop if exists city. That is, if you already have a table in there that's called city, says drop that. Then it says create a table. So you have the ID, name, country, that's supposed to be the columns under that table, the ID, the name, and all of that, etc., etc. It goes on and on and on, but I don't want to bore you with that. So basically, I'm just going to launch that quickly. I'm going to execute that. So it's executing that now. Can you see? If you can see down there, it's loading. You can see it keeps loading. I'm just going to wait for that to execute because I think it's executing loads and loads of tables stored in that database. I think it's complete now. Yeah, I think it's complete. So I'm just going to right click here and refresh all. Yeah, there it is. So we've just created our very first database. So as I told you, under your database, you have tables, views, stored procedures, and functions. But I told you also, for the sake of SQL, we deal more with tables. So I'm just going to click on that quickly. Tables. So under this database called world, we have 3 tables saved, which is the city, the country, and the country language. So those are 3 tables that we have attached to that database. What I'm going to do quickly also is, just so the database we've created here doesn't go to waste. Now, there's nothing under this database, obviously, because we've not created any. So what I'm going to do under this is just to quickly add a table to this database also. Or maybe I'm just going to add it to the world. I'm just going to take that. I'm just going to drop that schema. Yeah, drop now. Thank you. So I'm just going to add that to what we have here. So I'm just going to click on that. I'm just going to come down there straight up. Okay, I'm just going to click on that. Just going to open the table import wizard. It's going to ask me for the location. I'm going to browse that. I think I have it under the desktop quickly. YouTube. And I have salary, work from home salary data. I'm just going to open that. It's an CSV file. I don't know why I keep saying CSV and SQL. So it's a CSV file. So you just need to next. Yeah, that's created. It's creating a new table now. It's creating a new table. It's called world, and that will be the name of the table. I'm just gonna work from. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that. I'm just gonna next it. Yeah, those are the data types and all of that. But I'm just gonna leave that for now. Text, integers. I'm gonna leave that. I'm just gonna click on next. I'm gonna click on next, and there it is. It's executing the table. I'm just going to click on next. We've clicked a couple of next today. But yeah, that's just one of those things when it comes to importing that. So it says was imported. Just click on finish. So I'm going to refresh this now. Normally that's 3. I'm just going to refresh that now. And there it is. We have our last table created already. So that's just basically how to create a database, or also how to add an existing file, a CSV file, to a database. So the next lesson, we're going to finally start querying our documents. I'm not going to do that now because this is long enough already. So I'm going to do that now. We're going to do that in the next lesson. So thank you for sticking with me thus far, again, as I've said, like, subscribe, and share. It's very important that you do this, because when you subscribe, it obviously means you get notifications once we have another YouTube video up. So ensure you do that, and I'll see you next in the next lesson. All right, take care. Bye.